population in the continental United States, and 80% of Minnesotans believe the wolf should be protected. Howling for Wolves is asking Minnesotans to respect our true wildlife manager, the wolf. Their survival is critical to our ecosystems, our communities, and even our economy. As highly intelligent animals with strong social bonds, Minnesota wolves deserve to be protected and admired. Learn more at howlingforwolves.org. Let's live and let howl.
Navigating COVID while protecting yourself can be difficult. Fortunately, there's a hotline you can call with any questions. The Department of Indian Work St. Paul partnered with the Minnesota Department of Health to open the Twin Cities American Indian COVID-19 hotline. They provide information on vaccines, booster shots, and testing sites. Right now, booster shots are available to anyone over the age of 18 for those who are eligible. The Twin Cities American Indian COVID-19 hotline can also help with housing, food, medical, and educational support. If you or someone you know has questions about COVID-19, vaccinations, booster shots, or testing, please call 651-304-9986. Again, the number is 651-304-9986. The Twin Cities American Indian COVID-19 hotline is open for calls Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Call the Twin Cities American Indian COVID-19 hotline at 651-304-9986.
Hey, Cudahy to all my friends and relatives in four directions. This is Robert Pilot of Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake. I'm here to ask you for your support. Finding honest Native-centered news is not easy. But with your support, we're able to provide accurate information about Standing Rock, Line 3, treaty violations, and COVID-19 in our Native communities. Please visit Native Roots Radio Network on Patreon and donate if you can. That's Native Roots Radio Network on Patreon. Pinigigi, and thank you for your support.
Hey, Olgama, I've been hearing a lot about this term, climate justice. What is that?
Climate justice is recognizing that the negative impacts of climate change don't affect all people equally. It also means transitioning from a fossil fuel-based economy to a more sustainable future. MN350 is one of the groups that's pushing for this transition to protect our futures. You can even get involved too.
That's great, especially since I'm concerned about pipeline projects like Line 3. How can I help MN350?
Just find them on Facebook or visit mn350.org.
With a look at your AM 950 weather, I'm Patrick Lulia. Rain and snow possible tonight with a low of 33, then sunshine Saturday with a high of 50. Nightingale at 26th and Lyndale in Minneapolis is your cozy, comfortable neighborhood bar and restaurant. Now open daily from 5 p.m. to 1 a.m. with their full menu available until midnight. Check them out today at nightingalempls.com.
Portions of Native Roots Radio may be pre-recorded.
It's a good day to be indigenous.
Get up, stand up.
They are going to become more brutal.
Couldn't cut, hit me cut again.
Because all the hippies were trying to be Indians anyway.
They're going to become more repressive because it's a matter of dollars and their illusionary concepts of power.
Hey, Victor.
We must live in balance with the earth.
And also with recent happenings at Wounded Knee.
I am awake.
Welcome to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and I'm your host, Wakanja Hade. Hey, Cudahy, to all my friends and relatives in four directions. You are listening to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and I'm your host, Robert Pilot. And again, my real name is Wakanja Hade, which means distant thunder. And we talk about Native issues and news and events. And as you know, Wendy, Native issues are human issues, and human issues are Native issues.
This portion of the show is brought to you by Native Roots Trading Post, located at 700 Nicollet Mall in Minneapolis on the first floor of the Dayton's building. Come on down and we support Native artists.
Yeah, and we're all three wearing our Resist shirts today, which is awesome. Yep. And we sell those shirts at the store, and also you can go online to Native Roots Trading Post and pick one of those up and support the store and support Native artists and just be supportive. So we are resisting, and we need to resist, divest, join a group, and run for office is how I end the show a lot of times, but that's the truth. And Wendy, we've had Gina on for a couple of weeks here, and it's time to, not only we got her a shirt, now it's time to get her a headset and comfortable chair and get rolling on this. But we really appreciate Gina stepping in and stepping it up and doing a great job, right, Wen?
Absolutely. It's fantastic. Thanks so much, Gina.
And Gina, I just got to do this before we have you come on with the news that you don't hear anywhere else. I just got to do this real quick. Whoops, wrong button. Did you hear that, Wendy? I pushed the wrong button. I meant to push the applause button. All right, there it is.
It's Friday.
Yeah, it's Fun Fact Friday with we have State Senator Mary Kunesh on and Wendy with Fun Facts. So again, let's get to Gina Peltier of Honor the Earth with the news.
Hey, bonjour, Robert. Bonjour, Wendy. Hey, all our listeners out there. And it's been fun coming in and helping out. And, you know, in the future, when Ogama's back, of course, I'll come back and help out whenever it's needed. So moving on. In what some are calling an April Fool's joke, today Pope Francis apologized to Indigenous delegates for the deplorable abuses that happen at the residential schools. Pope Francis has apologized for the conduct of some members of the Roman Catholic Church in Canada's residential school system, following a week of talks with the First Nations, Inuit, and Métis delegations. The delegates had gathered for a final and public audience with the Pope at the Vatican on Friday as Francis spoke of feeling sorrow and shame for the conduct of those who ran the schools. The Inuit delegation also had been pushing for the church to intervene in the case of the fugitive oblate priest wanted in Canada for sex crimes. And the First Nation delegates also urged the Pope to revoke centuries-old decrees used to justify the seizure of Indigenous land in the Americas by colonial powers. More than 150,000 Indigenous children were forced to attend residential schools between the 1880s and 1996, and more than 60% of the schools were run by Catholic Church. The trauma and destruction from the residential schools is continuing today, and there is still so much more that needs to be done before healing can actually start. But more on to good news. Indigenous designers were named finalists for a prestigious Phoenix Fashion Week award. For the first time in its history, Phoenix Fashion Week features 2 Indigenous finalists for the Designer of the Year award. Norma Baker Flying Horse of Red Berry Women and Rita Zabel of House of Maynor. Both designers went through a rigorous selection process that took months of preparation, submissions, interviews, and follow-up. The 2-day fashion event will showcase spring and summer 2022 collections with 20 designer runway shows through April 15th through the 16th. Phoenix Fashion Week is considered the leading fashion industry event in the Southwest, and the winner will be announced April 16th. May the force be with you, Norma Baker Flying Horse of Red Berry Women and Rita Zabel of the House of Maynor. And then it looks like Honor the Earth is having a Drop the Charges event for our very own Winona LaDuke on Monday, April 4th at the Wadena County Courthouse, which is 415 Jefferson Street South in Wadena, Minnesota. Please join Winona LaDuke for her evidentiary court hearing for when the Shell River 7 were arrested for a peaceful prayer intervention. Winona stated she was arrested because she wanted to stop Enbridge's Line 3 from crossing the Shell River. With the new reports released with all the devastating evidence of Enbridge's reign of terror on the land and water, with the aquifer breaches and the frack-out destruction, poisoning so much land and water, who are the ones who really should be getting arrested here and held accountable for so much unnecessary violence? So for Monday's Drop the Charges event, we will be gathering at 8 a.m. at the Wadena Courthouse for some breakfast, and the hearing will start at 9 a.m. Beginning soon, when Indigenous people go missing in the state of Washington, social media, radio airwaves, and highways will be blanketed with their information to hopefully lead them to being found. Washington State Governor Jay Inslee on March 31st signed the House Bill 1725, creating the nation's first statewide alert system for missing Indigenous peoples during a ceremony on the Tulalip Reservation in front of tribal leaders, community members, state officials, and lawmakers. When operational, the system will be similar to the state's Silver Alert for missing vulnerable adults and will help identify and locate missing Indigenous people who, especially women, go missing at disproportionately high rates and face higher rates of violence and murder compared to other ethnic groups in the U.S. This is a step in the right direction, but there is more work that needs to be done, like getting this type of system enacted all over Turtle Island, and there are many more steps that need to be taken. Yet this is a prime example of what can happen when the right people in office who care and will take time to pass bills into law that actually help people in the community. So, with that being said, don't forget to contact the White House and demand Leonard Peltier's immediate release if you haven't yet. And as we talked about on yesterday's show, if you haven't yet, please call the Aiken County Sheriff to demand Sequoia Basswood receive immediate medical care. That phone number is 218-927-7456. They are denying her medical care, and we need to be living in a more compassionate world. So please call the Aiken County Sheriff and demand Sequoia Basswood receive immediate medical care. That phone number is 218-927-7456. So how about that, Robert and Wendy?
Wow, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, that's great news. Yeah, the Pope, I feel like it's a little too late. For a progressive Pope, I was really excited about him, but he's done a couple of things that really make me say, like, ugh.
Yeah.
Like he said this whole thing about people, like there were women who said, they don't want to have children, they'd rather have pets, and he said that they were being selfish and that's not why they were put on this earth, and I'm just like, oh my
Whoa.
gosh. And now finally apologizing for something that happened that should have been done, years ago. But I guess he's doing it and he's apologizing, so.
Well, I mean, instead of apologizing, why not enact bills like the Governor Isley, the Washington governor did, So instead of apologies, why not more proactive things happening, like enacting stuff like that and having more serious reactions when Indigenous people do go missing?
Absolutely.
Really good point. And let me turn down the bumper music, Wendy. We got 30 seconds left here, and I want to give Gina's made it 2 weeks with us, and I want to give her some applause here. All right, back up with the.
She's been on longer than 2 weeks.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, we really appreciate you. Great job as always. Up next, State Senator Mary Kunesh of Minnesota. We'll be right back after this short break.
Stay with us.
Climate justice. What is that?
Climate justice is recognizing that the negative impacts of climate change don't affect all people equally. It also means transitioning from a fossil fuel-based economy to a more sustainable future. MN350 is one of the groups that's pushing for this transition to protect our futures. You can even get involved too.
That's great, especially since I'm concerned about pipeline projects like Line 3. How can I help MN350?
Just find them on Facebook or visit mn350.org.
Unwanted sexting or photos, inappropriate jokes, even tickling or wrestling can feel like a violation. Catcalling, cornering, or groping, getting them drunk or high for sex, recording sexual acts without permission, hurting someone because of their sexual orientation, raping a family member, a child, a date, a friend, a stranger, purchasing a human being for sex. You make the choice every single time. Sexual violence is many things. Make a choice. Do not do it.
Sponsored by the Minnesota Indian Women's Sexual Assault Coalition.
Navigating COVID while protecting yourself can be difficult. Fortunately, there's a hotline you can call with any questions. The Department of Indian Work St. Paul partnered with the Minnesota Department of Health to open the Twin Cities American Indian COVID-19 hotline. They provide information on vaccines, booster shots, and testing sites. Right now, booster shots are available to anyone over the age of 18 for those who are eligible. The Twin Cities American Indian COVID-19 hotline can also help with housing, food, medical, and educational support. If you or someone you know has questions about COVID-19, vaccinations, booster shots, or testing, please call 651-304-9986. Again, the number is 651-304-9986. The Twin Cities American Indian COVID-19 hotline is open for calls Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. call the Twin Cities American Indian COVID-19 hotline at 651-304-9986.
Bonjour, I am Oshawashko Gijig. I'm from Red Lake Nation, and you're listening to Native Roots Radio.
Welcome back to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake.
This portion of the show is brought to you by MN350, a grassroots organization fighting for climate justice.
Yes. Hey, we had a week off. Wendy and I were, matter of fact, on last Friday, we were in the city, New York City, and did our 22,000 steps and 10 miles of walking aimlessly through Manhattan. But we didn't. We stopped at the Native American Smithsonian Institute, or a museum, and we did a lot of stuff. But we missed State Senator Mary Kunesh, and I know, State Senator, you had some stuff going on. Well, first, welcome back, and thank you for being on, of course. But you had some stuff going on at the Capitol Friday, and I had FOMO because I wish I was in town, but it looked like you had a great rally going on up there.
Yeah, Pay-to-Wash-Day, everyone. Yeah, you missed a really good one, I have to say. Last Saturday, or excuse me, about a week ago, we had this really great rally at the Minnesota Capitol, and it was to bring attention to this package of requests by Native American communities across the urban communities here in Minneapolis and St. Paul that address healthcare and community needs, providing safe places for homelessness, addressing the HIV epidemic that still continues to this day. Let's see what else is in there. There's really good stuff. The Wakan Teepee, which is a sacred site in St. Paul that has been returned to the stewardship and the vestige of our Dakota folks. And we are creating, Maggie and a bunch of others are creating this sort of a visitor center, but also reconnecting the land to the spiritual origins of that area. There's a funding request for the Anda Young Centers. Those are homeless shelters, both for adults, but on University Avenue in St. Paul, they have a fabulous homeless shelter for youth. And it just is a package of requests to the Minnesota state government in this year of surplus like we've never asked before. And so Joe Hobart and the whole consortium put together this really great rally at our Minnesota State Capitol. We had drumming out in the front under the eaves, and then they brought it in, and we had just so many great folks there that showed up to show support for that bonding request. And so I hope that everybody heard it loud and clear while we were in the Capitol, and I'm still keeping my fingers crossed to make sure that if not all of it is secured this session, at least our top priorities are.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I think one of the things that Joe Hobart is doing that hasn't ever really happened in Native or Indian country here in the Twin Cities is, everyone's working together, and that says a lot, because I know a lot of people are like, oh, I want mine, and they're doing it in a good way, these organizations, and really working with each other.
Well, it is absolutely, so important. Not only that these organizations, these nonprofits have joined together, they were always, trying to go after those same funds, the same time. All of those, the organizations, NACD, the Minneapolis American Indian Center, Minnesota Indian Women's Resource Center, all of those different orgs were always competing for the same dollars. And so what I think is really great, and I think it's a tribute to our Native communities, that they recognized that they needed to join forces to help themselves help each other. And that's what they did. They came together. They assessed the needs of each other. They prioritized each other's needs within the community, and now they're speaking, in one solid group from one tongue, so that it's not all these other, all of them coming at it at the bonding committee or the governor or whoever, from all different angles, by so many that you don't know who you should support. And we just, Johobat and the urban the Urban Indigenous Legacy Initiative group put it all together, put it into a really lovely package, and handed it off. And so I'm optimistic.
Yeah, we had Dr. Stately on, as we do every Monday, and he mentioned the fact that he did some speaking to people too. And, one of the things that you were saying too is that he made it perfectly clear that, I guess one of the questions was, why don't you have the casinos pay for this? And how insulting that was. And not because of the question, but because they don't know the history of, like, that would be like me, asking, the state to pay for the Vikings for a stadium. Oh, wait, they did that. But something like that, where it was outlandish. But it's good that there's one story and not 16 stories coming in, right, Mary?
Yeah, absolutely. That's perfect. And those individually, those stories are really important and unique, but as a group, they have such strength. And so, and the connectedness, the intersection of all of those organizations, it's not like they just help, this group of people and this group of people. They all help. Somebody might go from the Indian Women's Resource Center to the health clinic, to the community center, to NACD for, economic support, and then head over to St. Paul, to the Wakantipi. So every one of those organizations serves the same group of people, but in very different, unique ways according to their needs. And I think that definitely follows our Native American values and our morals and our practices.
Wendy, did you have a question? Or
No, I just wanted to say that when Robert Lilligren from NACD was on yesterday, he was talking about this and how important it was to prioritize the needs and to all work together. I just wanted to say that Robert talked about this yesterday and what an awesome thing it is.
Well, the other really incredible thing was to see all of these Native leaders join in one place, and to see them all at our state capitol, united and uniform in message. And I just looked around and thought, oh my gosh, we are in the presence of greatness here. And it was very awesome.
Yeah, well, now I really got FOMO, Wendy. No, but no, that's awesome. Gina was really excited that you were going to be on tonight, and I said, "Oh, she's on every Friday." But Gina, do you have a question or anything for State Senator?
So, do you have anything coming up that you're really looking forward to getting accomplished?
Well, we're coming into the last deadlines of our state legislature, and there are plenty of things that I would have liked to have gotten across the finishing line, but we're not done yet, because some of these pieces of legislation, even though they haven't been heard, can be slipped into some of these omnibus bills. But I did get my only hearing while I've been in the Senate for 2 years was a bill to create a specialty license plate for the MMIR. I had this inspiration driving to the Capitol one morning as I'm driving along, looking at all the different license plates, and I'm like, oh, I could see an MMIR license plate. So I went into my office, told my assistant, I have this really incredible intern. They got really excited. My intern sat down, and 2 hours later, she had completed the bill. I mean, it was just incredible. She, of course, looked at other past bills and used the same language and just put in the unique information about a missing and murdered Indigenous relatives license plate. And then I did a little quick mock-up of one. And lo and behold, we dropped it and we had a hearing for it. And Alicia Koslowski from Duluth did an excellent presentation. She's running for the Minnesota House. I wish she'd run for the Senate. It was a good hearing. And what I found really heartwarming is that the Republican chair asked me about it, and he said, I hate license plates. Everybody at the Capitol hates to do these specialty license plates. But he said that he wanted to hear the bill because it's so important to learn about it.
Yeah, that is awesome. We got another segment with you, Mary. Is that okay?
Yep.
Awesome. We're with State Senator Mary Kunesh, Wendy Pilot, Robert Pilot, and Gina Peltier. We'll be right back after this important message. Wendy, what is
Stay with us.
It is, and we also should go down to Native Roots Trading Post and check it out.
700 Nicollet Mall.
All right, stay with us. We'll be right back after this short break. Hey, Wendy, what are we doing for dinner after the show?
How about we go to J. Selby's on 169 Victoria Street in St. Paul? They have a delicious plant-based menu that's compassionate and environmentally sustainable.
I'm getting their spot-on vegan Big Mac, the dirty secret.
You can pick up and they deliver within a 5-mile radius, or you can call them at 651-222-3263 or visit jselbys.com.
Well, you sold me, Wen. Let's go order at J. Selby's tonight.
I'm hungry.
Navigating COVID while protecting yourself can be difficult. Fortunately, there's a hotline you can call with any questions. The Department of Indian Work St. Paul partnered with the Minnesota Department of Health to open the Twin Cities American Indian COVID-19 hotline. They provide information on vaccines, booster shots, and testing sites. Right now, booster shots are available to anyone over the age of 18 for those who are eligible. The Twin Cities American Indian COVID-19 hotline can also help with housing, food, medical, and educational support. If you or someone you know has questions about COVID-19, vaccinations, booster shots, or testing, please call 651-304-9986. Again, the number is 651-304-9986. The Twin Cities American Indian COVID-19 hotline is open for calls Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Call the Twin Cities American Indian COVID-19 hotline at 651-304-9986.
This is Santita Jackson. Monday through Friday, 6 to 8 a.m. Central, we'll bring you the best progressive talkers, thinkers, and doers on AM 950, Minnesota's progressive voice.
It's Patrick again for the carpet and air duct specialists at Zero Res. Did you know that as many as 1 in 5 Americans suffer from allergies caused by particles found inside your home? Indoor air quality is an issue all year long, but especially now that April showers will bring May flowers full of pollen and other irritants out of hibernation and into your home. If you or your family struggle with allergies or asthma and you want cleaner, healthier air, Zero Res can help. Now through April, Zero Res is offering 3 rooms starting at $139, plus get $75 off those air ducts too. Just ask for the AM 950 special. Call 952-ZERO-RES today or go to ZeroResMinnesota.com to schedule your appointment anytime. Zero Res is also offering $500 off select Mohawk flooring styles, free financing, and free cleaning 1 year after installation through Z Floors. Backward or forward spells the same, Zero Res.
This is the Being Curious Show. I'm Brian Mariani, founder of No Shift Own.
And I'm Kelly Wagner, publisher of Edge Magazine. Our show is about curiously connecting teachers and seekers on a wide range of topics in a safe space.
And our intention is that these conversations spark your own curiosity that creates a life that totally lights you up.
This Sunday at 2 p.m. on our first show, joining us is Ann Pryor and Risa Kazmierski, here to discuss their upcoming April events on the Shift Network. Could soul painting connect you with a beloved on the other side? Listen this Sunday at 2.
Turn to Auto Technical with your vehicle donation. Even though Auto Technical is a small nonprofit, we have helped more families with transportation than any organization in Minnesota. Since '94, we have reconditioned donated vehicles so they have a higher tax benefit. Call Richard at 612-919-5526, 612-919-5526, or autotech.org.
With a look at your AM 950 weather, I'm Patrick Lulia. Rain and snow possible tonight with a low of 33, then sunshine Saturday with a high of 50.
At Warner Stellian, we thought it was about time you got paid. Now through May 3rd, we'll pay you $50 for each qualifying appliance you buy during our Stellian Stimulus Sale. Save up to $1,000 on laundry pairs ready for fast free delivery. Buy now at WarnerStellian.com.
Hi, I'm Jane Fonda, and you're listening to Native Roots Radio.
And we're back to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and this is Robert Pilot.
This portion of the show is brought to you by the Minnesota Indian Women's Sexual Assault Coalition.
Hey, we're here with State Senator Mary Kunesh, and it's always a really positive experience and a good way to end the week with you, State Senator. And we really appreciate you stopping by. And I'm wondering, like, how many years have you been on with us? Has it been 2.5? Do you think? It's been a while, right? Well, you're muted. I get to say that today. You're muted.
It feels like it's just been a minute, Robert. I think I met you probably in 2017 when I was first elected to the Minnesota House of Representatives. And you were showing up at the Capitol trying to catch all kinds of information, and things just sort of, evolved from there.
And I think I totally begged you when I saw you down at the powwow in Mankato. Does that ring a bell?
Yeah, I do remember that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. But yeah, we really appreciate you coming in and just telling us in a good way. There's ways to say things, and you're telling us in a good way what's going on, and I really appreciate that. And Fridays are always fun. Wendy has fun facts, and it's pretty light, and so it's great to have you on.
Thank you.
Back to what kind of Gina was saying too, is what are your plans? What are your future plans here? What's going on? What's happening? What's going on this week?
Well, tomorrow is a big day. Tomorrow, I have my endorsement convention. So every time we're up for election, we start the campaign, the election cycle by precinct caucuses, and we've already had those. So folks that went to the precinct caucus signed up to be a delegate at the endorsement convention. And at the endorsement convention is when they vote on who they want to endorse to run for office, such as state senate or state legislature and those sort of things. So tomorrow is my endorsement convention. And the endorsement is through our political party. So in Minnesota, we're the DFL, the Democrat Farmer Labor Party, and we're the Dems. And so tomorrow is mine, and I will be at Fridley High School in the morning. I was working on my speech when I joined you. I have to go back and finish that up. And I'm not contested, so I'm pretty much a shoo-in. But one of the things that has happened with redistricting is that some of the elected officials ended up being redistricted together, even though if they're in the same party together. So my two state representatives, we have two of them for every senator. So the A side and the B side representative got redistricted together after the census. And so we have to go through the endorsement, and there will be sadness, because both of them are excellent. One of our, Connie Bernardi, has served our communities for a dozen or more years. Sandra Feist is an immigration lawyer, and she brings a really unique perspective to the legislature. Both of them really serving our communities from the bottom of their hearts. So that's going to be a bit of a tragedy. But this is happening all over our state, these endorsement conventions, both for Republicans and senators. There are districts that still don't have candidates running for them. If you're down in the Winona area and down in that southwest or southeast kind of corner, we're looking for a good candidate to run. And if you are thinking that you would be a good candidate down the road, let us know, and we'll help you with that.
That's awesome. And you've jarred my memory too, because I have to be at St. Paul Central High School for my convention. I am a delegate too. So
excellent.
I'm glad you brought that up, because Wendy and I usually are delegates, and I don't know, it was online for us. So I just signed up and said I could either be a delegate or a backup. And I guess I'm a delegate. So I got to show up to the meeting and do the thing. Yeah.
Yeah, the last time, 2 years ago, we did everything virtually and online, but this year we're back to doing it in person.
Yeah. So when are you off yet? Are we done voting on bills? What's coming up? I mean, there's so much. Your part-time job's turned into a full in 1 year you've worked 2 years worth of work, it seems like.
It feels like it. So now what we're doing in our state government at the legislature is that the chairs of all the committees are putting together their bill. So they look at all the bills that they have heard, and probably a lot that we haven't heard, and they put them into a piece of legislation that will reflect whether it's education or judiciary or health and human services or whatever the case may be. And then we get a rundown of all of those bills, that big package, and we can put the word just lost. Amendments. We can write amendments. So if there's a bill, like for me in education, I didn't get a bill on, I didn't get a hearing on a bill about libraries, but I still want that to keep going. So I'll take that bill and make it an amendment on the big bill. And then it has to go to conference, where they go through every bits and piece, and then they match it up with the House bill. And so it's a lot of negotiating for the next couple of weeks.
Is there any talk amongst other Dems and DFLers about this next coming election and how it will shake out for the Senate? Because I know we're the only state in the Union in the United States that has a split Senate and legislative.
Yeah, I don't think we are anymore, but we were for the longest time, where one body is majority Democrat and the other body is majority Republican, and that makes it really difficult. We are very hopeful and very optimistic this time around that the Minnesota Senate will go to the Democrats, and that we will hold the majority in the House, so that we have that solid legislative control. I don't want to say control, because I don't know that we really want to control things, but we certainly will lead that the state as that. We have incredible candidates that are running for the different seats. We've been able to fundraise more than we have ever. I mean, historic fundraising. People really want to see a good change in the Senate, because we just aren't getting much of anything done. We have this huge surplus, and the education chair is not putting any money into the schools, other than creating a pathways for a privately or a hedge fund owned company to run our literacy program in the state. when we have record high mental health issues, special ed funding problems, transportation problems, teachers, there isn't a shortage of teachers in Minnesota. I forget exactly how many there are. There are plenty of licensed teachers, but why are they not teaching in the classroom? What can we do to make those classrooms attractive again and welcoming again and have the resources there to help them and the kids? None of that is happening in our state legislature, and we just can't have that.
And Minneapolis could get a help with what they have going on too, because they were saying that they couldn't afford the raises and things like that. So maybe even helping the urban and other school districts too with some sort of funding and do something with all this billions of dollars.
I mean, if you ask me, I have plenty of ideas of how to do that. I'd love to see small class sizes. And if there isn't room to spread out the kids because we don't have enough school or classrooms, can we add an educational assistant or a second teacher in a classroom? How can we differentiate better? What are the resources that we need to make those schools really, really thrive? We had a testifier come in and talk about, like equity was a dirty word. And I don't think she really understood the word of, the definition of equity or recognizing that not every school needs the same thing. Not every kid needs the same thing. Not every teacher needs the same help. And if we can look at how we can do that at every single school, in every single classroom, and that we are putting our money where our mouth is, again, we have a surplus. We know the tragedies that are happening in our schools. So why are we not doing anything? It's because we have a GOP-led Senate.
Wow, we're lucky to have you on that committee too, because as you were speaking, Mary, we only got a minute left here, but as you were speaking, I was thinking about that you cannot compare apples and oranges. You can't compare my St. Paul urban kids who possibly are, a high percentage of them are wondering where they're going to sleep that night to Woodbury kids, So the testing and all that is skewed stuff that just kind of, when you were talking there, just kind of hit a nerve with me. But we're lucky to have you and with your experience too, because I feel like there's a lot of people that have really not attitudes, but they have opinions about public schools and have never been in one.
Yeah, it's true. We have decision makers who homeschool their own children who are trying to tell us how we should run our public schools. I mean, I appreciate their willingness to give us some ideas, but let's listen to the boots on the ground folks.
Exactly. And also, I know you're a big defender in this too. Let's get those paraprofessionals who are boots on the grounds. Let's get them up to a living wage, for goodness sake.
Absolutely.
Let's get real. I mean, the years that we were in school, one of the things that we were always kind of beaten down, but then when you take a deep breath and think back and you go, there's a very small percentage of people could do what you and I did. Very small, that had the patience or expertise or whatever. There's very small amount of people that could work with kids and in a good way. And so we have to remember that, and we have to really help the ones that are helping our kids, really.
Yep.
Well, thank you so much, State Senator, for being on. I really appreciate it, and have a great week, and we'll see you next Friday.
All right. Wopila, everybody. Thank you.
Oh, hey, you're listening to Native Roots Radio Presents I'm Awake, and we'll be back with Wendy with their Sacred Animal section.
Stay with us.
If the statistics say that 1 in 3 Native women and 1 in 6 Native men have experienced sexual assault in their lifetime, it means our whole community is affected by sexual violence. 1 is too many. Don't stand by, stand up. Don't engage in acts of sexual violence, and shut down the dirty jokes, the gossip, the victim blaming and shaming. As a community, we can change the way we respond. Contact the Minnesota Indian Women's Sexual Assault Coalition to attend a workshop to learn more.
Sponsored by the Minnesota Indian Women's Sexual Assault Coalition.
Jns Bean Factory is a native-owned, community-supported, cozy, artsy coffee shop which offers roasted on-site beans, live music, and baked goods. Relax in the beautiful outside patio. City Pages writes, voted top 10 coffee shops. Tucked into a quiet corner of St. Paul's Highland Park neighborhood, this coffee shop roasts beans on-site from the best coffee-growing countries in the world. Located at 1518 Randolph Avenue, St. Paul. The good stuff. Hey, Olgama, I've been hearing a lot about this term, climate justice. What is that?
Climate justice is recognizing that the negative impacts of climate change don't affect all people equally. It also means transitioning from a fossil fuel-based economy to a more sustainable future. MN350 is one of the groups that's pushing for this transition to protect our futures. You can even get involved too.
That's great, especially since I'm concerned about pipeline projects like Line 3. How can I help MN350?
Just find them on Facebook or visit mn350.org.
Minnesota has the only original wolf population in the continental United States, and 80% of Minnesotans believe the wolf should be protected. Howling for Wolves is asking Minnesotans to respect our true wildlife manager, the wolf. Their survival is critical to our ecosystems, our communities, and even our economy. As highly intelligent animals with strong social bonds, Minnesota wolves deserve to be protected and admired. Learn more at howlingforwolves.org. Let's live and let howl.
Hi, this is Representative Sharice Davids from Kansas. I'm Ho Chunk, and you're listening to Native Roots Radio.
And we're back to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and this is Robert Pilot.
This portion of the show is brought to you by Howling for Wolves, protecting wolves for future generations.
Oh my God! Why does that never gets old? What
Never does. We've been howling for 5 years now. Howling for Wolves, a great organization protecting wolves for future generations.
Oh. I'm like a trained wolf here. So, yeah, Wendy, I was going to say something, but let's get to your segment right away.
Yeah, I just want to say Mary's awesome. We're so lucky to have her, Mary Kunesh. So just wanted
Yeah,
to.
a lot of comments too, and there was a listener too that I will ask her this question next time we're on. I did not get a chance to see this. I was let me see if I can pop up the question here real quick.
Yeah, and in the meantime, this morning I was on the phone doing a Zoom meeting with our Senator Erin Murphy
Yeah.
about some 4 bills for humane legislation that we want to have passed in Minnesota. Maybe I'll ask Mary next week if any of the humane policy volunteer leaders for the Humane Society of the United States or any of her constituents got in touch with her about any of those bills. So that would be important. I could also talk to Mary about the bills too. So
Exactly. And I needed to really pay attention because there's 3 or 4 really good questions, and I'll let's bring these back up next Friday, and I'll ask.
are you going to remember to do that? Make yourself a note.
No, no, but I mean, I was hoping that our listeners and people watching us on YouTube and Facebook will remind me of these questions next week when Mary.
Yeah, that'd be great.
That's what I'm hoping. Wow, we all look so good with our resist shirts and howling, and then you have the painting in the background there, Wendy. Another gem. You're very talented. Not only you're very smart because you picked me as a husband, but you're very talented too. So I just want to put that out on the airwaves.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
All right. Well, hey, this is now that we're done flirting here, this is this is the sacred animal portion of our show, in which we've been talking sacred animals for 5 years, and I've learned so much, and I'll just hand it over to you, Wendy.
Yeah, thanks everybody. My name is Hanaji Hihani. That means cares for them, and I was given that name by my Dega Curtis. Curtis goes by Mashke Hanajinga, which means walks on white clouds. Yesterday it was kind of funny. We were talking about hummingbirds because I saw that article that you put up, Robert, that the hummingbirds are starting their migration down south. And then you could look it up, hummingbird migration in the United States, and it'll show you where the hummingbirds are. And it'll also tell you like which species of hummingbirds will be migrating when, and then they just make themselves up go up north. But I just wanted to remind everyone, maybe people who weren't listening yesterday, that if you're going to put out a hummingbird feeder, that it takes a commitment, that you have to change that fluid in there that you make for them like every couple of days, because it could get fermented, and then it could cause the hummingbird's tongue to stick in its mouth, and then they can't eat, and then they die. And then also just to use plain old white sugar. Don't use organic or raw or brown or honey or powdered sugar or artificial sugar, just plain old granulated sugar that you buy. The cheap stuff is great. And mix it with a portion of 1 sugar to 4 waters. So, and just mix that up, and then
Boil it, or did you boil it,
yeah,
or?
I boil it. I boil the water and I put the sugar in, and then I let it cool, and then I pour it into a glass. I have the hummingbird feeder, it's glass, and I make sure that's cleaned. And then the rest of the sugar water that I made, I just put it in like a plastic container and put it in the refrigerator, and it'll last like a week or two. And then just remember to change that out and rinse out the feeder, every time you do it. So it is a commitment. You have to remember to
And then
do it.
you have to put a
Yeah.
label on that so I don't drink the sugar water.
Exactly. I'll put a note on it. Hummingbird food or something. But you'll just see the word food, and then you'll want to have it. But even after the show yesterday, after we shut down, we were talking about the hummingbirds, and we were kind of like saying specific things that, they're really interesting little birds. There's over 360 hummingbird species, and 15 species are found right here in the United States. So that's really awesome. The ruby-throated hummingbird and Anna's hummingbird are very popular here in the United States. And Robert, you were saying, like, you're funny. Like, we'll walk through the neighborhood. We feed like squirrels and the chipmunks and stuff. So we'll be walking the dogs around the block, and Robert will see a squirrel, and he'll be like, "Oh, I think that squirrel knows me." But, because we feed the squirrels, and it's pretty funny. But
Well, the
hummingbirds,
way she winked at me, the girl squirrel winked at me. I'm like, "Yeah."
whatever. But hummingbirds are incredibly tuned in. Hummingbirds have outstanding spatial memory and can remember feeder locations years later. They are also able to keep track of bloom peaks and remember which flowers they visited. This is because a large portion of the hummingbird's brain is occupied by the hippocampus, an area dedicated to learning and spatial memory. So if you do a really good job with your hummingbird feeder and the food, and you're changing it, and you have flowers out there for them, the same hummingbirds will keep coming to visit you years and years. So that's awesome. Hummingbirds visit hundreds of flowers each day. They have high energy. These little birds fly 1,000,000 miles an hour and flap their wings. I have a number here, I'll tell you in a minute, but a lot. So they really need to keep their metabolism up and their energy up. So they feed continuously throughout the day. The ruby-throated hummingbird, for example, that I just mentioned a little while ago, can visit more than 1,000 flowers in a day, consuming up to half its weight in nectar between sunrise and sunset. Flowers are their main food source, but hummingbirds also pay back many plants because they play an important role in pollination. So they work
Oh.
with, yes. So when they go
Neat.
to flower, they can help pollinate flowers too. So they don't just eat, they pollinate. So they're really, really important. They are the smallest bird in the world, the hummingbird is, and it's lighter than the weight of a dime. That's their
Wow.
weight. Yeah, isn't that
And
amazing? I don't even
when they
know
were
if I would
named
feel a weight of a dime in my hand.
and when they're named hummingbirds, do they hum music and sing, or?
No, that's the reason why they have the name hummingbird is because they flap their wings so fast that the wing speed makes a humming sound, and that's how they got their name. Yeah. Isn't that amazing? I think that's
Yes.
great. So we're still discovering new hummingbird species, which is a really good. The blue-throated hill star was discovered as recently as 2017. Researchers estimate that there are fewer than 1,000 individuals found only in small regions in southwestern Ecuador. So that's kind of neat that they're still discovering new species. I think that's great. Hummingbirds' heartbeats are through the roof. And I did mention this yesterday. The blue-throated mountain gem heartbeats as fast as 1,260 beats per minute. That's crazy. Costa's hummingbird beats between 500 and 900 times compared to that of a human average heart rate of 60 to 100 beats per minute. So that's
Wow.
crazy. And hummingbirds beat their wings 60 to 80 times per second.
Wow.
And that's what makes the humming sound, and that's how they got their name.
Well, hey, thanks for the fun facts on hummingbirds and our sacred
always
animals
fun.
and our relatives. Yeah. Hey, I want to thank Gina Peltier for the news and State Senator Mary Kunesh for stopping in and checking in and giving us some cool information. You need to resist, divest, join a group, run for office. We're still here. We are the seventh generation.
Free Leonard Peltier.
Electricity costs have hit historic highs, and they're likely to continue rising with no end in